Jai Sudev, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Hungam Yog Global Online Satsang. I am Abhinav, joining from Sydney, and I'm excited to bring another edition of this beautiful platform to all of you. Firstly, as we all know, we're in an interesting time, interesting if you could call it, in a difficult time for many of us. I hope you're all keeping safe. I hope you're all keeping fit and taking care of your loved ones. And if you are in a position where things are difficult, I really, really do pray to the Master that things get better very, very soon. You know, in life, we all have different questions about what we should do, what we should do with our time, our energy. And as we go through life, we start to compute and develop this way of looking at things, which helps us understand how to answer these questions. The biggest question which we, seem to have, and I know when I was younger, I always had this question. I remember once in class, one of my teachers asked us, how do you define certain words? And one of the words she asked us to define was, what is happiness? Like, draw me a picture of what makes you happy. And I remember in that class getting really excited. And, just like a child would, I drew a picture, which was not the most artistic piece of work, let's say. But I drew a picture of my family, my home, which I'm lucky to have. Like, I live a beautiful life with my family. And I remember drawing, my family, my mother, my father, my brother. Maybe there was a TV there, and it was just all of us smiling. And I remember when I looked around the room later when we all presented, everyone had a different picture. Everyone had a different definition of this thing. And even as a kid, I remember going back home and asking my mother, what is this thing, happiness, that, it seems to be different for everyone. And it's not an experience which is, unknown to all of us. As we go through life, we notice this thing. We notice that happiness means different things to different people. And the question becomes, is there a way for us to go deeper and to understand what it really is? Is it just chemistry? Is it a state of being? What is this thing? This week, we're talking about this very concept. This week, we're talking about happiness. And our topic is happiness demystified. You know, as we go through life, as I just mentioned, we have a lot of questions about what happiness is. And, the question becomes, is happiness a difficult puzzle? Is it possible for a human being to be happy? Is it possible for everyone to be happy? Do you have to have certain prerequisites to achieve this state of being? And today, we're going to try and dig into this. And hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have a few insights and a few things that you can think about in your own journey toward happiness. So today, through the medium of Vihangam Yog, the Svarved, and our own experiences with this concept, we hope to give you something to think about for the coming week. So I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Vijay Kumarji, who's joining us from the US. Vijay ji is a very eloquent speaker, firstly, also a fantastic and experienced instructor of Vihangam Yog. He currently serves as the president of the North American Institute of Vihangam Yog, and he's taught a number of sessions around the world. So I'd like to welcome Vijay ji to the fray. I hope you can hear me, Vijay ji.
Thank you, Abhinavji, for the warm welcome. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you. So Vijay, I want to start with, this idea of happiness. Sometimes it's when we look around at the world, we look at people in different states of life. We start to ask, you know, is it really, or even just beyond the different states of life that people are in, we look at the difficulties some people are facing. We look at, people who maybe are not living as, um, to say, they are underprivileged. They do not have opportunities and these kinds of things. The question becomes, happiness seems like a puzzle, not only to these kinds of people, but even to us. We go through our day at work, at school, whatever it is. We come home and we sometimes feel happy, we sometimes don't. So there's a confusion, there's a puzzle. And the question is, why does happiness feel like a puzzle to the majority of people, including us?
this is this is truly something that people often speak to me, and I always say, does it truly? Does it really feel like a puzzle to you? I really am really feeling very privileged and blessed when I came in contact with the wisdom of Svarved. So let us take help from Svarved to solve this puzzle forever. Let us begin from the very beginning. That is even before the beginning of this vast creation. Let's begin the story from the very beginning. So when this creation did not exist, just imagine within your mind, when this creation did not exist, of course, none of the matter that you think is one for your happiness existed. So when this creation did not exist, where was the happiness? The bliss that we seek today in this creation, where did it come from? Even when the creation wasn't there, the bliss still existed. It existed in the consciousness of the Almighty Himself. Surved says, इतना अधिक आनंद है भोगता वही भूल अब क्या पूछो मधुकशा जो सब सुख का मूल. It is in Hindi. It says, in the ecstasy of the bliss ocean of the Almighty, one is blissed out so much that one is fully lost into its infinite abundance. Out of such an abundance, the abundance of the bliss that is already there in and out of us, out of such abundance, it is just a drop of the bliss that falls into this creation and is made available to all living beings in different forms. So the happiness that makes us blissed out momentarily in our day-to-day life is nothing but just that drop of the bliss ocean, just a drop, nothing more than that. In fact, Svarved speaks in that line. It says, "Amrit kund hilola se ek bund gir आए, सोई बूंद छनी प्रकृति में जग जीवन सुख पाए." So whatever little happiness we are getting out of any activities in life, they are nothing but just the surface of the drop of happiness that we are somehow able to touch temporarily. Just a drop out of the bliss ocean, just a drop. But that little drop of happiness also seems significant to make us feel blissed out for that moment, isn't it? When you feel happy at something, you think, wow, this is the life. But the problem is, it lasts only for just few moments. It immediately vanishes. It does not stay. That is the problem. So why is it so? Why is that it doesn't stay as long as we want? And see the irony. We are floating in the bliss ocean. As I said, the bliss originally is from the consciousness of the Almighty Himself. The consciousness that pervades through this entire creation holds that bliss. So we are floating in the bliss ocean. It is not that the God is not in and out, He is there. The God is always there, but we do not have access to it. That is a problem. We do not know how to tap onto that bliss ocean. That is the ignorance we are living in. But see the mercy of Lord, that He has given us the sensory organs and the drop of happiness accessible to our senses. The drop of happiness in the world and the sensory organs is what at least gives us a sense of happiness temporarily. But only the problem is it doesn't stay. That is the problem. So, why is the happiness so temporary? In fact, that is why people come with this question, why it is so puzzling. So, let us begin understanding this now. This was just the background. I wanted to make people understand where we stand. So, why it is so puzzling? So, let us introspect on all things that make us happy. What exactly happens when you feel happy? For example, let's analyze when you feel thirsty, drinking water makes you happy. When you're hungry, having food makes us happy. When you have craving for certain sports, then the moment you're into that sports, playing sports makes us happy. There could be different other activities where we are testing that drop of happiness. What is happening during then? What happens when you feel happy? Sadhguru discloses very mechanism of happiness. He says in Svarved, शांति ज्ञान सुख शांति है शांति धर्म तप योग उत्तम गुण नर शांति है शांति सर्व फल भोग. This is in Hindi. It means, whenever you feel happy, whether at drinking water or having food or at the playground or taking the rest when you are tired, in all these, there is one thing common. Do you know what? It is the Shanti, the peace. Shanti means the peace. It is the peace. When you're thirsty and you're drinking water, it is the prana that was restless because of the thirst. So prana is getting the peace while drinking the water. When you're hungry and having food, it is again the prana that was restless because of the hunger. And the prana gets the peace with every bite that you eat. When you're tired and taking rest, it is the body that is getting the peace. When you're craving and we get subject that we are craving for, the mind and the indriyas that were restless for the subject before, they start coming into calmness. So mind and indriyas get the peace. In all these, nothing but the peace is arising by one or the other way. So Shanti hi sukha hai. This is what Sarved says. The peace itself is the happiness. In all experiences of life that make you happy, it is nothing but the arrival of the peace in your life. Unfortunately, we do not recognize that. That is the problem. We are very busy searching the happiness outside and maintaining the restlessness inside. We do not recognize this very fact that the peace itself allow the happiness to blossom inside you. We think that the happiness is in the matter. When there is uncertainties in life and solution arises, your mind and intellect comes to rest and you feel happy. The wisdom gives rise to the peace at the moment of uncertainties. And therefore, the happiness blossoms in you when everything is peaceful inside. When any unknown factors cause restlessness, it is the wisdom that gives you peace at that moment. So, what was common in all that? The peace itself is what is in the foundation of happiness. The peace is the happiness. It is not a matter. What is happiness? Happiness is not a matter. Is it a matter? It is not. It is an attribute. It is a quality that rises within us. Any physical subject by itself is never a happiness. When you hear about the description of the Almighty Lord, in ancient scriptures, he is also called as Sat Chit Anand, Sachidanand. Why so? Because the Sat Chit Anand, the Sachidanand, the word is composed of three properties, three words: Sat, Chit, and Anand. The Almighty exhibits these attributes, the Sat, Chit, and Anand. What is Anand here? I'm not going to talk about Sat and Chit, it's out of context right now. But what is Anand here? The Anand means the bliss. So that means Anand, the bliss, the happiness, is not a matter, it is the property. It has always been a property of the Almighty. That means the Anand is an attribute. So peace or happiness, which seems puzzle to people, is because they seek it in the matter. Whereas happiness is nothing but a quality, an attribute that needs to rise within. Now, despite the varieties of the physical sources of happiness we have relied on, why does the happiness not stay? Why is that short lived? That is what is very clearly understood here in Svarved. Everything in this world is transient. Everything is transient. Sadhgurudev says happiness happens only when the situation is all favorable to you. And whatever you want, if everything is favorable to your wants, then the happiness will blossom inside. Unfortunately, everything is variable in this transient world. Either our wants change due to wavering nature of the mind, or the subject itself changes or perishes. The same piece of the sweet that you eat, which used to give you happiness, unfortunately, after 3 or 4 bites, suddenly you don't feel happy taking it any further. As long as the subject is favorable to your craving, the happiness stays. But suddenly there is a mismatch. Your craving change. Suddenly the subject will feel insufficient or non-matching to the nature of our craving. Sadhgurudev says in Svarved, craving is like fire. Craving is like fire, and subject is like the dry grass. Sadhgurudev says that if you drop a bunch of dry grass over the fire in order to lower the fire down, you will feel that the fire is settling down temporarily. When you drop the bunch of grass over it, temporarily it will settle down. But you can understand it very clearly. Eventually, it is going to rise rather in bigger magnitude. This is what is exactly happening when we chase sensory happiness. Sadhgurudev says that physical desires are nothing but fire, and the subject that we feed into it is nothing but the dry grass. So the moment of peace will be only short lived, as in no time the fire of restlessness is only going to grow in bigger magnitude. This is why we need always more and more. When we are in the pursuit of happiness, we always seek more and more, because the fire of urge and the fire of craving only multiply as we feed the subject into it. So we begin with one smoke, or one cigarette a day, and then suddenly it becomes two, and then end up becoming a chain smoker. It's the same story. Same story with the alcohol. Begin with one sip, two sip, and then you never realize you have become a drunkard. Every addiction say the same story. The dry grass only makes the fire grow. This is the whole reason why any form of happiness we know is only temporary in nature, unless you have gone through the transformation of your wisdom. I call it as a second birth, the transformation in your wisdom, where you have understood this entire game now. You know that the darkness which is within me and is keeping me in complete darkness, not allowing me to understand what and where the happiness is rising from. Only when that darkness is removed from within, it is then the second birth happens. It is the second birth when the darkness from within is removed to open up other sources of happiness which you never thought existed already very within you. And those source of happiness is something which you can always keep hold of. That is the secret. So happiness is a puzzle only for those who will only continue to aggravate the fire of urge by feeding the dry grass of the subject from outside, but not for one who learns about the inner source of happiness, which are explored through the spiritual practices. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that very detailed explanation, Vijay. So, if you were just to reflect on this a little bit and unpack some of this, we we've navigated through quite a few concepts here, which I hope you're all benefiting from, obviously. And the question really at the crux of all of this, which Vijay answered, is, what is the true nature of happiness? Is it, if you look at anything that makes you happy today, is that thing immutable? Is it always going to be there? If we look at the unfortunate, or not unfortunate, but maybe if we look at the example of a person who's trying to free themselves from an addiction of any kind, even our own addictions of going on YouTube or Netflix whenever we have a free moment, even the addiction of scrolling through our news feeds, or as soon as we have a break, looking at our phones, all of these addictions, what is the nature of that thing? If you look at the science of it, it's all dopamine. We have this thing which makes us happy. We go behind it, and then it finishes, as Vijay just explained, and then we go for it again and again and again, and we end up in a cycle, which the yogis and the spiritual philosophy, as Vijay just expressed, says is only one way of attaining a very micro transient form of happiness. So, the next question really becomes, if happiness is on the inside, if it is a conscious property, which Vijay just explained is one of the properties of the soul itself, which is the engine of this existence we have, then how do we reconcile it with living in this world? How do we, remain prosperous on the outside and achieve success on the outside, rather than, let's say, going into a room and meditating for the rest of our life?
Yeah, this is certainly something that many people come to this conclusion after understanding the philosophy about the happiness. They start thinking, then why would anybody look out for prosperity outside if the happiness is not outside? Majority of the people consider that the spirituality and the physical prosperity are east and west, the opposite. But in reality, they go hand in hand. We do not even need to find the balance because they go together. They both prosper each other. Rishi said in ancient time, Ajramaru vitpragyo vidyam artham cha chintet grihito keshu mrityunam dharmam achret. You never lose an opportunity of two things, the wealth and wisdom. Do not lose these opportunities thinking that anyways I'm going to live only for few years. What's the use? Rishi said, never ever think like that. Rather, always think that you are going to live forever. But also remember that death, the death is holding your hair to snatch away your life any moment. So do not ever lose the opportunity to earn righteousness any moment of your life, so that the upliftment of the soul is not denied any moment. So do all your worldly affairs with utmost righteousness, because this is the only moment with you, only the present moment which is guaranteed for you to stay with you. And this is the only moment to earn righteousness for you. So do all your worldly affair with utmost righteousness. May you grow not only physically, but spiritually hand in hand. Please don't mistake that the physical prosperity means the greed. No, it is not that way. In fact, it is a blessing. The wealth that we earn through prosperity is meant to do bigger thing in life, bigger thing for the service of the humanity. Only when we develop the capability within us, we can do big things in life. Today, when we know that certain spiritual practices are good for humanity, without the power of wealth, it may happen that we'll shy away from contributing towards its spread. But if you are well capable, a big CEO of a company, you are certainly having better capability to influence several lives, and you can do bigger service in life. So there is absolutely no friction between the physical prosperity and spirituality, provided we are not misguided about why this physical prosperity, provided we understand what is the use of the physical prosperity. It is possible for you because, you were able to, be prosperous in life because you were gifted by God with better resources, better skills, all perfectly working indriyas to do magic in life, so that you can assist those who are deprived of these. Maybe God has chosen you to serve the needy. So shying away from opportunity of growth is to shy away from the opportunity of bigger service. In fact, we will slowly discover that the service, that servitude, the sense of service itself is another source of happiness. Rather, it is the pillar, the service, the sense of service is the pillar to get to the bliss ocean itself. One of the means which is necessary for being eligible for the bliss ocean is nothing but the seva, the service. When you transform your heart, your emotions, your vrittis, such that you start liking getting involved in seva. That is the biggest transformation we want to bring in life. Sooner we transform to become a sevak, meaning the one who performs seva, the service. Sooner we transform to become a sevak, faster we move towards the bliss ocean. Physical prosperity is not against your progress towards happiness. Physical prosperity would only help you become a better sevak of the humanity. So, of course, it's not east and west, it goes along. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Vijay. A beautiful reflection on, you know, how can we bring these two things together, really? And I think you've really hit the nail on the head there, which is, we this property of achieving happiness within. We've seen this in all the great yogis, including Sadhguru Siddhartha Maharaj, who, if you ask yourself, why doesn't all realized yogi spend time or energy in trying to share the knowledge of how to achieve that happiness? And the reason is, if we can take so many examples through time and history, the reason is you have this beautiful experience within, which once you achieve that experience, you realize it's available to all of us. It's just a matter of sitting and practicing. Once we realize this, we transform the way we look at the world, as Vijay explained, to become a sevak. We not only look at our own, the things we talk about, and we try to share these things with people. Like, this is a path toward conscious happiness. We also look at all the things in our physical life. Why do I want that promotion? Why do I want to earn more money? The reason is not for me. It is because with that promotion, with that access to more wealth, I can share it with more people. I can be an even more powerful sevak and help people reach that state of happiness which we're all looking for, which is one of the truths of being a human being. And it brings us toward a very important question, which is, we've talked about happiness being within. So what is the inner source of happiness? How do we lead a happy life when we haven't reached that place within and we're on the way, let's say?
That's fantastic. We know that the physical happiness we are after are doing opposite. Only because of ignorance, we are rather only magnifying the fire within by chasing the physical happiness. But this is also the truth that we cannot live without happiness. Even though we understand that the happiness that we get from any physical subject is only temporary, we still continue to go for it. Why? Because we cannot live without happiness. And we go outward to the materialistic subject because we do not know any other ways. In fact, the situation is like this, that if the poison will make me happy, I will take it, even if it is going to take my life. This is what in reality is happening to us. We are after certain addictions in life just because of the pleasures, even though that is killing us, because we cannot live without happiness. So the only thing we need to know is, where is the right source of happiness, which is non-damaging to us? Where else is the happiness? We understood in the beginning that behind happiness, the underlying mechanism is the peace. Happiness is the experience of the soul that rises within when peace happens in life. So we just need to identify those readily available sources that give rise to the peace without aggravation of the fire, and where there is no illusion but just absolute peace. Even when we have not attained the union with that bliss ocean, but if we could just understand this very mechanism, and we could tap onto some available sources that can give rise to the absolute peace within us, we can live our life happily. We know that we do not have access to the bliss ocean yet, because that is available to a complete yogi only. Does that mean we cannot live happy? Of course not. Every moment can be made joyful if we just know how to hold on to the sustained source of happiness that would not ever separate from us. In physical happiness, either sensory organs stop working or the subject separates from us. We are left with only cravings, only sorrow, just because we lose the touch with the subject. We become incapable, or the subject itself change. Does that mean one will never be able to live in happiness? Sarved discloses the readily available source of happiness, and they are just within you. Happiness is the quality. We understood that. Happiness is the quality, it is not a matter. Peace is a quality, not a matter. It does not come with matter, but it comes along with some other qualities. There are certain qualities. If you develop those, happiness will be all yours. For example, you can just introspect. Is the happiness in the greed or in the satisfaction, in the contentment? If you don't feel content within you, if you don't feel content within you, that for me only this much is enough, any amount of stuff will never make you happy. But only with the content, with the contentment that, well, this much is enough for me. If you have that limits within you, you will suddenly feel happy with whatever you have. So contentment is the happiness, not the greed. If you don't have contentment within you, happiness will never happen. In the moment of adversities in your life, frictions, during the frictions in your life, do we feel happy when we are angry? Or we feel happy with patience, with forgiveness? Of course, in the patience and forgiveness, as they bring peace within you. So, any sources, any qualities that give rise to the peace within you is the source of happiness. And when everything is right, happy and go lucky, should we go back again after physical subjects for happiness? Many people do this mistake. When they are in extremely a situation, a moment of success, when they are celebrating happiness, they may get corrupted and start going after the physical subjects. We should not repeat the same mistake, because we understand that the moment you start feeding the subject to the fire, you are only going to aggravate the fire within, which is only going to kill you. It is going to evaporate the happiness from inside. So we should not repeat the same mistake. When happy and go lucky kind of situation, you take this as the opportunities of bigger service in life. You have abundance of opportunities of service when you are that much prosperous. So we should then get happiness out of the service. Happiness will blossom within you when you are in service. So The contentment is the happiness. The forgiveness is the happiness. The wisdom is the happiness. The satsang is the happiness. What is satsang? This kind of conversation where we speak about the truth. All of a sudden, because of the ambience, because of the, the matter which is discussed in satsang, you will find you will find that the peace has started rising within you just by listening to the satsang. Satsang gives rise to the peace within you. It brings peace to your inner core if you attend satsang wholeheartedly with devotion. So satsang is the happiness. Siva is the happiness. Sadhana is the happiness. But even though we understand that physical happiness will only amplify our craving or sorrow within us, and the righteous qualities are the sustained source of happiness. But Abhinavji, that is the puzzle. People still do not stick to these inner qualities.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
it's a very interesting
Yeah.
uh, conundrum, as you just said. Uh, you know, um, and if we could just reflect on it for a moment, it really brings so many questions forward, which is, you know, when we are having this experience of happiness, we obviously feel so energized and so light and peaceful. Perhaps we don't have the opportunity to actually stop for a moment and think, what is this state of being I'm in? And how do I extend it? How do I freeze it in time so that I'm always like that? As you just said. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why we don't, you know, identify the deeper, more subtle state that we're put in when we are in a state of happiness. And it brings us toward one more question, which I'm sure all of us have, which is we live in this world, we understand now, perhaps, hopefully, um, that happiness is much more deeper, much more subtle in nature. So, knowing all of these things, why is it that we don't go toward internal happiness, which is a more permanent source of happiness than, say, the transient nature of the outside world?
Yeah, the problem is actually in the pollution of our sanskaras. Sanskaras meaning something that reflect in your character. The pollution in our desires. The kind of desire we carry that reflect how polluted we are from within. Our desires are polluted. We need to purify them. Unless we purify desires, it will only push us towards the physical subjects. And in that illusions, we will end the precious human life and will lose the opportunity to access the bliss ocean. What is the second birth in human life? I just gave a hint of it in the beginning. What is that second birth? When the desires are purified, that is the second birth. When when the darkness which is inside, in which we were not able to see where is the source of happiness, when when the darkness starts vanishing, when we start leading the life in the light of true wisdom, not under the darkness of ignorance, that is the second birth. You do only the right things in life and stop doing anything which is wrong. When you have that much of courage, when you start leading your life only in the light of wisdom, the darkness is vanishing. This is the second birth. And Swarved says, how will that happen? Will it happen automatically? It doesn't happen automatically. If you're dirty with your body, will it cleanse automatically? It doesn't. You have to go under the shower to cleanse your body. Similarly, when your desires are polluted, you need to certainly go through certain process, because we understand now that the happiness is inside, but it's just that because of some pollution in your mind, in your desires, you are being pushed outward, and you are lost into this illusion. So if today we understand this, all this, then we certainly pay close attention to the mechanism by which you can purify your sanskaras. And Sarved says there is just one way for it, just one way. This is where you'll also understand the glory of the Divine Master, the Sadguru. It says, Guru Seva Satsang mein प्रेम सदा सुख सोई जीवन वृत्ति सुधार में शरणागत गम होई. The vritti sudhar, the word vritti sudhar here means the purification of our desires. And it says there is absolutely no other way but only through Sadguru Seva and Satsang that one can purify vritti, the desires. So only when you attained these kind of discussions again and again, even though you know what this satsang is going to talk about, it doesn't matter. You need to take the shower of satsang. Just knowing that the water will cleanse my body is not sufficient. You, whenever you are dirty, you need to go under the shower. So satsang acts like the shower for us. It cleans our desires. There is absolutely no other way. You need to develop deep devotional relation with the Divine Master who is here to cleanse you. And you need to take the shower of his true wisdom in satsang. So Sadguru Seva and satsang, these are the mechanism to cleanse you from inside. If you truly want to lead the life in the second birth, in the light of the wisdom, in the purity, in the sustained happiness, we must attempt to purify our sanskaras, our character. So satsang and seva suddenly becomes the prime most important thing in our life. Such discussion is called satsang. Getting darshan of the master, the divine master, is called satsang, because he is the embodiment of the truth. Satsang, association with the truth. So meeting the master is satsang. When you come in the close vicinity of the master, it is satsang, the association with the truth. The master is the truth. Through satsang and through Sadguru Seva, we can purify our sanskaras and lead the life with the second birth. Only when the vrittis are purified, meaning our cravings, our desires, when they align with more towards righteousness, only when vrittis are purified, the dharma, the righteousness will rise within us. Meaning, those 10 qualities will rise within us. The patience will rise, the forgiveness will rise, the truthfulness will rise, the control over our mind and indriyas will rise. With all 10 qualities of dharma will rise the peace, because that comes hand in hand with these qualities. That is the mercy of Lord, that he made us a human being. It is a mercy of Lord that we got the human birth. Why? Because the human being is the only species which can live the life with these 10 magical qualities, with these human qualities. And these qualities are something that nobody can separate from you. Nobody can separate the patience from you if you want to stick to it. Nobody can separate the forgiveness from you if you want to adhere to it. Nobody can separate these qualities from you, provided you save yourself from the illusions of the mind and rather go within. Just live in the light of the wisdom. Just live in the light of the wisdom that source of happiness is not in the outside world, but the source of happiness is just within you. The drop as well as the ocean. The drop of happiness as well as the ocean of happiness, everything is just within you. So while you are on the way to the bliss ocean, which of course one travels with the wisdom and the technique of Sadguru. So while you are in the stage 1, stage 2, 3 or 4 of Vihangam Yoga journey, while you have not yet perfected stage 5, which is the ultimate level in Vihangam Yoga where the union happens with the bliss. So while you have not perfected stage 5, you still have ways to lead a happy life. Just work upon keeping your sanskaras pure by engaging in seva and satsang. It is through seva that you will be eligible for Sadguru's blessings. And it is the Sadguru's blessings that will make you cross the door of the bliss ocean. We do not have access to the bliss ocean because there is a secret 11th door which is hidden from us. I'm going little deeper into the consciousness now. So there is a secret 11th door which is hidden. If you look at the body, this body has 9 doors which are obviously open. The 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, mouth, and 2 organs of excretions. The secret 10th door beyond these 9 doors, the secret 10th door in the human body is closed by Kundalini, which opens with Kundalini awakening in the third stage of Vihangam Yoga, and of course by the grace of the Sadguru. So in Vihangam Yoga, for opening the 10th door, for awakening the Kundalini, you do not need to perform rigorous breathing and the kumbhak and bandh. Those are the kriyas in the yoga practices. It says kumbhak bandhana iku lage ape aap kundali jage. You do not need to go through the rigorous practice of kumbhak and bandh, but the kundalini awakens just automatically with the energy of the Sadguru in the third stage of Vihangam Yoga. But even after 10th door opens, the bliss ocean still remains hidden. Even 10th door does not have access to the bliss ocean. But of course, 10th door is the first milestone towards it. We know only about these 9 doors. Have you ever heard about the 10th door? Have you seen where the 10th door is in your body? We have not. So even the 10th door is a secret for us. We need to open it because that is the first milestone towards reaching the bliss ocean. So after 10th door, there is a secret 11th door, which is in the space of consciousness. It is in the space of consciousness, and that is what needs to be crossed. This is where the self-acclaimed gurus would not be of any help to you because they do not have the reach in the conscious space of yours. He cannot go inside with you. This is where you require a true Sadguru, the master of divinity, who have the power to make that door appear for you. The 11th door, which is secret, which is hidden from you, will suddenly appear in your consciousness by the blessings of that divine Sadguru. Upon crossing that secret 11th door, the bliss ocean of Almighty is attained, and the flow of Brahm energy happens in your heart. This is why we need to make ourselves eligible for Sadguru. And how do we make ourselves eligible to Sadguru? By seva, by satsang, by purifying our sanskaras. In fact, seva is of greater importance for the eligibility of blessings from Sadguru. Satsang is certainly needed for us to purify ourselves, but to finally make the progress towards the bliss ocean, it is the seva that plays the vital role. So seva is of greater importance for the eligibility of blessings from Sadguru. So, dear friend, happiness is not the matter, it is the quality that rises within you. It rises within you with the rise of other righteous qualities. So just look forward towards leading the life in righteousness, so that the righteous qualities always remain awake to keep you in the state of peace and happiness every moment. That is the secret of how you can remain happy. Sarved says, Sadachar Sukh Jag. Only when you lead a righteous life, when you are in the righteous deeds all the time, that is how you keep these righteous qualities awake within you. And when these righteous qualities are available, when it is awake within you, that is how it will also allow the flourishment of the happiness within you. In the righteous life, all qualities that are the source of happiness will always remain awake. And one would have a sustained happiness in life. And if Sadguru is pleased with your purity, then the bliss ocean will also be all yours. That's the glory of the righteousness. That's the glory of Sadguru. Thank you. Over to you, Abhinav.
Thank you so much, Vijay. I think you've shed a lot of light on this topic for all of us listening. And, I think we've actually reached the end of our hour this week, which is, fantastic. We've had a great exploration into happiness today. So thank you once more, Vijay, and I hope to have more conversations with you just like this in the very near future. So, thank you. So, what did we learn today? Is the question. Well, I hope you've all got a lot to reflect on going forward this week. And, I just wanted to share one quick reflection before we end for this week, which is, many, many years ago, Sadhguru Siddhartha Maharaj, in just a natural cave, experienced the depths of spirituality and conscious experience. Now, as we are bound to our own homes, it is up to us whether we treat it as a place of entertainment and relaxation, or we turn it into a cave and we go on the journey within. The journey within is one which is riddled with many difficulties, but with a master guiding us, we can truly achieve these states of being, which Vijay has so beautifully explained to us, of moving toward a deeper sense of bliss and happiness. So we hope today and this week we've been able to demystify some of the spiritual concepts which are entailed within happiness, and we look forward to having you all back on this platform in the coming week. So with that, Jai Sudev, Namaste, and have a fantastic and prosperous week ahead.